The Whispering Woods. This story is true, and even years later, thinking about it chills me to the core. It happened to me when I was 19, during a camping trip with my best friends, Tyler and Sarah. We were adventurous, loved the outdoors, and always on the lookout for places off the beaten path. That's how we found ourselves in the Whispering Woods, a dense, remote forest tucked far away from any city. We'd heard local rumors about the place. People said strange things happened there. People getting lost for days, eerie noises at night, and shadows moving in the trees. But we dismissed it as folklore, a way to keep tourists out. We thought we were braver than that. We were wrong. The arrival. The woods were breathtaking at first glance. Towering pines stretched endlessly upward, their branches forming a canopy that filtered the sunlight, these soft golden rays. There was no trail. We had to navigate with a map and compass. After hiking for hours, we found a small clearing and set up camp. As night fell, an unsettling silence blanketed the area. No crickets, no rustling leaves, just pure, suffocating quiet. We built a fire and tried to laugh it off, but the mood was tense. Around midnight, while we were talking, we heard it, a faint, melodic whisper. "Come here." We froze, staring at each other. Tyler, "Did you hear that?" Sarah, "It's probably the wind." But there was no wind. The trees were still. The voice came again, clearer this time. "I see you." The first night. Despite our unease, we tried to sleep. Tyler and Sarah shared a tent, and I had my own. I lay awake, every sound amplified by the darkness. At some point, I drifted off. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to a strange noise outside my tent, a soft, scraping sound, like something being dragged across the dirt. I held my breath and listened. It circled my tent slowly, methodically. Then the whispers began again, louder this time. "Why did you come here?" I couldn't move. My body was frozen in fear. I mustered the courage to unzip the tent slightly and peek outside. The fire had burned down to embers, casting faint, flickering light. That's when I saw it. A figure stood at the edge of the clearing, barely visible in the shadows. It was tall, impossibly thin, and seemed to sway slightly, like it was floating. Its head tilted as if it knew I was watching. I zipped the tent back up and didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day in the morning, I told Tyler and Sarah what I'd seen. They laughed nervously, dismissing it as a nightmare. But then Tyler noticed something. Large, deep scratches in the dirt around our tents, forming a perfect circle. Sarah's face went pale. Maybe we should leave. But Tyler insisted we were overreacting. We'd driven hours to get here, and he didn't want to cut the trip short. Reluctantly, we agreed to stay another night. We spent the day exploring, trying to shake off the tension. But no matter how far we hiked, it felt like we were being watched. The forest seemed darker, the air heavier. That evening, as the sun set, we returned to camp. We found our gear exactly as we'd left it, but something felt off. The clearing seemed smaller, like the trees had crept closer. The second night. We built the fire bigger this time, trying to ward off the oppressive darkness. None of us mentioned the whispers or the figure, but it was clear we were all on edge. Around midnight, the whispers returned, louder and more distinct than before. "Why won't you leave?" The voice was everywhere, coming from every direction. Tyler grabbed a flashlight and scanned the trees. "Tyler, who's there?" For a moment, there was silence. Then a guttural laugh echoed through the woods. It wasn't human. Sarah started crying, and I felt my stomach drop. That's when we saw the figures, dozens of them, standing just beyond the firelight. They were tall and shadowy, their limbs too long, their movements unnatural. One by one, they began stepping closer. The escape. We didn't hesitate. Grabbing only what we could carry, we ran. The figures didn't follow at first, but the whispers did, growing louder and more frantic. "You can't escape. Stay with us." The forest seemed endless, twisting and changing as we ran. Our flashlights flickered, and it felt like the darkness was alive, pressing in around us. Then Tyler tripped. I stopped to help him, but he screamed, "Go!" One of the figures was looming over him, its long, bony hand reaching out. I'll never forget his face. frozen in terror as the shadows swallowed him whole. The aftermath, Sarah and I didn't stop running until we broke through the tree line and stumbled onto a dirt road. A passing truck driver found us, disheveled and hysterical, and drove us to the nearest town. We told the authorities what happened, but they found no trace of Tyler or our campsite. The forest, they said, had been abandoned for years. To this day, I don't know what we encountered in those woods. I haven't